No time to fear, Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know. Now it's showtime.
It is time for the Democrats to take off their Democratic goggles and read the room, honey. We're going to talk about that and so much more on today's Karel Show. So don't go anywhere, except right here. Be with me, honey. Be with me.
Now it's showtime.
Karel is the one that you need to know. Now it's showtime. And you know you want to be here with me. It is the Karel Show. I am Karel. Happy July 28th. Yes, got to put the glasses on to read, child. I'm blind. I'm doing my show without my glasses, trying to. I can't see crap. I've gotten so blind. But I'm so glad you are here with me on this Taco Tuesday. Should I go for tacos today? I think I should. Gonna go to Tacotarian. Get me some tacos. Taco Tuesday. Although I have refried beans and I have everything to make tacos. Why would I go? Because I want to get out of the house. Well, it's going to be 108 today. I guess I don't want to get out of the house. Anyway, I'm so glad you are here with me. I really am. I love y'all. All of my diehards. Look, I just want to start by saying if you're listening on Apple Music or Spotify, if you're watching on YouTube at youtube.com/reallykarel or Spreaker, iHeartMedia, wherever you might be consuming the Karel Show, I just want to say really a heartfelt thank you to you. We may not have an enormous crowd. We don't have the 10, 100, 200,000, whatever. But we've got a small but mighty group of people that we have maintained for decades. Not just, and in today's lack of attention spans, you know what? Having an audience for decades, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so grateful and appreciative, but especially my patrons. I wouldn't do this show if there weren't the patrons, and that's the truth. If you're not a patron, you are living on the good graces of my patrons. Because unless I get their $1,000 a month, and that's how much I get from the patrons total, $1,000. That's it. I know some people are making 10, 20, 50, 100, but the $1,000 a month it helps so much, more than you know. And I would not do this show without it. So you all owe a debt of thanks to my patrons at patreon.com/reallykarel. And if you're not one, you should be. I mean, it's $5 a month. The price, not even a coffee. Come on, or a tea. So patreon.com/reallykarel. I have another reel going viral on Instagram. This one's at about 10,000 views. For me, that's viral. Last week, I had one do 70, 80,000. So the Instagram seems to be picking me up. Follow Karel Official on Instagram if you don't already. My name is spelled Karel. Today in history, in 1868, as part of the Reconstruction, the Continental Congress passed the 14th Amendment of the United States after it was ratified by 2/3 of the states and by 3/4 of the states, a 2/3 vote, and 3/4 of the states all ratified it. And I bring this up because that happened today in 1868. And Donald Trump is trying desperately to get that repealed. When you hear birthright citizen, that is the 14th Amendment. It was done after Reconstruction to say that the slaves that had children here, that those children were American. Also, that the slaves that were brought here against their will were also citizens. However, there is some controversy around that amendment. And see, like Thomas Jefferson, I believe the Constitution should be revisited every 4 years. We haven't done it in 30, 40 years. But I believe it should be revisited every 4 years with a constitutional convention. Do I agree with the 14th Amendment? Not entirely. Does Donald Trump have a small point? He does. And I bet you all are like, what? But he does. So there are now countries that send people to America on birth tourism, China and other countries. A pregnant woman in her 8th month comes to America on a 30-day visa and during that time has a baby. that baby, because of the 14th Amendment, is technically a citizen. Is that right? No, actually, that's not right. I believe, and this is just me, and I don't make the laws, but I believe that in order for you to be a citizen by birth of the United States, your parents should live here. Now, notice I didn't say they should be citizens. In other words, if they're here on a visa, if they're here applying for citizenship, if they have sought asylum but have not been granted it yet, and you are born here, okay, you're a citizen. And as long as the parents live here, and I do think there should be a time, like they should have had to live here in the country.
If you're not visiting reallykarel.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast, videos, and the blog, including recipes at reallykarel.com. That's really KAREL.com.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know.
Now, I don't want to sound all Bill Maher here because, he's turned into, a Republican light. And I don't want to act like I'm agreeing with the other side just to gain points with MAGA or something. But I will say, okay, there should be some time limit. In other words, the parents should have to have lived here 90 days, half a year, I don't know, a year. We could decide that. But I just don't think that, you get off an airplane, you're coming to America to visit. You get off an airplane, you're here for 2 weeks, you have a baby while you're here, and suddenly that baby is an American citizen. No. I also don't think the baby should be an American citizen if you have citizenship somewhere else and are not in the application process to become an American citizen. Now, again, I didn't plan on doing this as a topic. It is my little meme for the day that I send out to all my friends that today in 1868, the 14th Amendment became law. Times have changed, and Thomas Jefferson said, I am not an advocate for frequent changes in laws and institutions, but laws and institutions must go hand in hand with the progress of the human mind. As times change and societies adapt, it would be as if we were asking a man to wear still the coat which fitted him as a boy, as it would be for future generations to live under the tenets of their barbarous ancestors. And what he was trying to say, and he was referencing the Constitution, what he was trying to say is it needs to change as we change. Okay, back when they wrote this, you couldn't get to America in 8 hours. Okay, that just didn't happen. The quickest you could get to America was months. And not many pregnant women made the trip. Okay? So nowadays, where you can literally be in Hong Kong this morning and be in LA tonight, we do need to have some restrictions on the 14th Amendment. Donald Trump is partially right there. Now, what those restrictions are, I leave up to a competent Congress, which we don't have. I fully believe the parents should either be in some form of adjudication of citizenship, having applied, seeking asylum, whatever that might be. But if they are full-blown residents of another country, and they have every intention of going back to that country, then their child should be a resident of the country from which they came, not our country. And it shouldn't get dual citizenship. Now, I don't want that to be controversial, and I don't want that to be like I'm siding with Donald Trump, and I certainly don't want that to be the whole topic of the show today. But it just really goes to show that, yes, some of the Constitution could use some sprucing up, a glow up. I mean, look at Mitch McConnell. He fell down 6 weeks ago, and now he looks 30 years younger, practically doing backflips at some unknown facility. So all of us need a little glow up now and again. And the Second Amendment should be removed, just taken out. You don't have a right to bear arms anymore because you're not part of a well-regulated militia. If you were, ICE would be afraid of us instead of us afraid of ICE. If we had well-regulated militias in each state, these militias would go out and greet ICE and tell them they're not welcomed. And they would be armed under the Second Amendment. But we don't have well-regulated militias. We gave that up to police, to National Guard, Army, Navy, all of that. So the Second Amendment should come out, and the 14th Amendment should be amended to say that you're an American citizen if you're born here in this country, as long as your parents are residents or in some step of becoming a citizen. I think that's fair. If the parents here are seeking asylum, if they have applied, whatever it might be, if they are here illegally, and I mean if they just came across and never filed one piece of paper. Because can we just talk about that for a moment and how, once again, see, MAGA and Republicans, they start with a grain of truth. They start with a grain of something that is not right, and then they just explode it like a popcorn kernel into something that it's not. If you want to be a citizen of the United States, I feel you have to come here, and once you get here, you have to immediately go fill out some paperwork. Immediately. Like the day you get here or the next day. Either go apply for asylum and say, I'm coming from a country that I need to escape, please help, or apply for a green card for citizenship. But if you just come here and you ignore the system altogether, you don't go apply for anything, you don't apply for asylum, you don't apply for a green card. Now look, I know that people that did those things are getting caught up in the ICE raids and getting deported, and that's wrong. I'm talking about the people that come here and they simply don't apply for citizenship. They don't apply for a visa. They don't apply. No, that is wrong. I can't do that in Ireland. I can't go to France and do that. You know, I can't get into their country without a proper visa or paperwork. And if I don't have that, if I'm trying to flee to their country, they have a procedure for that as well. Now, is it broken? Yes. And does it need to be revamped? Absolutely. And is it easy? No. But you should at least try to do it legally. Okay? So if the parents are here and they have tried to do something legally, they've applied for citizenship, they've applied for asylum, whatever that might be, okay, then any kid born here is a citizen. But if they're here and they did not apply for anything, they have filled out no paperwork to be legal, and they have a kid, then no, I don't think that kid should be a citizen of the United States. Now, you all may hate me for that, but that's just how I feel. And if you're here on a visa for like a 90-day visa and you have to go back to your country and you have a kid while you're here, no, you're going back home. You know, so I do believe the 14th Amendment could use a glow up. And how we work that out would be left to the lawmakers and public opinion and all that. But I just don't think it should stay the way it is. Let me put these on and check the chat room real fast. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Our policies made up of MAGA. Our police is made up of MAGA. I agree. And they've infiltrated the military too. I agree. I heard Fox called up one of the most extreme examples of DSA candidates. I don't know what they're talking about. Oh, DSA. Is that Democratic Socialist of America? You know. But yeah, Trump isn't always wrong about everything. He's not. And it'd be dumb to say that anybody is a broken clock is right twice a day. He's not always wrong. Sometimes the stuff he's talking about has a root in fact or in a problem. It's just how he implements the solution that's the real issue. So when it comes to the 14th Amendment, no, we should not end birthright citizenship. No, he's wrong about that. However, we should glow up the amendment for the times. Again, our founders never really envisioned an America where you could be in America and from anywhere in the world within 12 hours. They just didn't, that wasn't on their mind, jet travel and all of that. Nor did they anticipate how the world would unfold. So if you have a kid here and you've applied for citizenship or you've applied for asylum, etc., okay, then it's an American. But if you're here on a visa, if you're going back to your own country, or if you're just visiting, you just happen to be in the country and you have a baby, then no, it shouldn't be a citizen just because it fell out of your womb in our country. If my pregnant wife, wouldn't that be something? If my pregnant wife went to Ireland with me just for a visit for 2 weeks and had a baby in Ireland, it shouldn't be an Irish citizen. And I don't think it would be. So, okay. So there. All of that from today in history, because today in 1868, the 14th Amendment passed. Now in the chat room at youtube.com/reallykarel, when I put my glasses on, which are fashionable Ray-Bans, aren't they fabulous? They're talking about Democratic Socialist of America. I don't want you all to start bad-mouthing them. Don't bad-mouth DSAs in my presence, because I am basically turning into a Democratic Socialist, okay? I fully believe what they believe, or some of it. Maybe not all of it, but some of it. So I am truly, my late husband Andrew was a socialist. He identified as a socialist. And a lot of socialism's beliefs I agree with. They say in capitalism something about there are rich people, blah, 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 but in socialism, there are rich people, but there are no poor people. And having been raised the way that I was raised, poor, and as an adult, being basically poor. I asked ChatGPT about some numbers. Let me see if I still have them here. ChatGPT, because Sid Castro, a listener, sent me what the average American makes and, the average American salary and all of that. And that is a little deceptive, okay? Because you got to break it down by, demographic and all of that. So let's see. Let's see right here. Okay, here we go. So I got sent a thing that said, the average American has a salary of $62,600. We'll talk about housing affordability in a second and how that plays into it. And this has everything to do with my topic today, that the Democrats need to read the room. And that includes some of you in my chat room who are bad-mouthing Democratic Socialist. You need to read the room. Young people are gravitating to Democratic Socialism. And if that's what they want, if that's the form of government that speaks to them, that gets them to go vote, that excites them, then you better shut the fuck up and get out the way. Okay, or else we're going to lose. And I'm tired of losing to Republicans because Democrats can't get their shit together and read the room. Because Democrats are turning into Bill Maher. Two crotchety old people who want things done the way they were always done. If that's who you are, sit down and shut up and move out of the way. And let AOC step on in. Let Mamdani step on in. Because that's what the people that are young want. Okay? So, the average American has a salary of $62,600, has a mortgage somewhere around $275,000, has $6,700 of credit card debt, has $24,000 in car loan, has $46,000 in a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit, purchased their first home somewhere around 38 years old, has less than $1,000 in savings, and has about $38,400 in student loans. Does any of that sound like you? Okay? So I asked ChatGPT, which is good for some things, and I asked it, are these numbers correct? And it said the answer is mostly yes, but it's a mashup of different statistics. So here's how it breaks down. The salary of $62,600 depends on whether you're looking at individual workers, all adults, or household. Average wages are in that general range, but the median earning is actually lower. A mortgage of $274,000 is actually a bit high. It says the average median mortgage is $258,000. Credit card debt is spot on, $6,735. And I have about that much. Car loan, $24,300. It's actually $24,600, so that number is right in there. I don't have a car loan for $25,000. HELOC of $46,000. It says the current average is closer to $48,000 amongst people who have one. Most Americans don't have one. I have one, and I owe $46,500. I am that statistic right there. Bought first home at 38. Actually, that's lowered now to the low 30s. Less than $1,000 in savings is misleading. The Federal Reserve finds 63% of adults could cover a $400 emergency with cash, savings, or a credit card, which they would then pay off immediately. Many households have much more than $1,000 in savings, though many have very little. Student loans is outdated. The average is about $32,000, and of course, not every American has a student loan. So, I'll tell you the real numbers when we come back, and then we'll equate that to the cost of living.
Patreon is the way to show you care. Subscribe today if you dare. Keep the show on there. Patreon is the way. Now it's showtime.
All right, so one of the most misunderstood statistics in America today is the average income to describe things that actually are apples and oranges. So you say like the average of whom? So there isn't one average American salary, not like there used to be. The major ways that we measure this are a median full-time worker, okay? This is the middle of the road full-time worker. They do make about $62,600 a year before taxes, which means they only bring home about $42,000 a year, which is less than $4,000 a month. It's about $800 a week. 900. Yeah, right around 900 a week. Half of the full-time workers earn more and half earn less. So when you hear that 62.6, that's the middle. Half of the workers make less than that, and then half make more. Okay? Now, the mean average full-time worker, mathematical average, and this is if you include the higher earners, is about $70,000 a year. So when you add everybody in, it pulls it up to about $70,000 a year. Okay? Now, the median household income, this is when there's two people working in the house, is $83,700 a year. That means 50% of the people with two household incomes make less than that, and 50% make more than that. So the middle is $83,700. And the median personal income, which includes retirees, part-time workers, students, unemployed people, or people on disability, that's $45,000 a year. And sad for me, that's where I am. That's right where I fit. So you have half the workers making more than $60,000 or $70,000 a year, and you have half the workers making less than $70,000 a year. And that's pretty damn interesting. So how many workers make over $100,000? So it depends on, again, whether you're talking individuals or household. The full-time, year-round worker, about 25% earn $100,000 or more. So that means the single full-time worker, 75% of them do not make $100,000 or more. And I use that figure because we now know because of rents and the cost of gas and food, to live comfortably in America, not be rich, but just to be getting by, paying your bills with the 1/3 of your income being your rent, having money for food, cell phones, once a year vacation, just once a year vacation, and putting away 10% in, having enough to put 10% away in savings. That figure is now $100K. because they're only going to bring home 70 of that. And again, that's not even $5,500 a month. That's not even $2,000 a week. So, yeah. 3 out of 4 people make less than $100,000 a year. Okay. Now, if you broaden it to everybody, all people, retirees, students, part-time workers, then it goes down to only 16% making $100,000 or more, because that lower income bracket pulls that number down. Okay? Households where there's 2 earners, 40% of U.S. households, or 4 out of 10, or 2 out of 5. So 2 out of 5 households make more than $100,000 combined. Okay? So if you have 100 Americans, out of those, about 65 are employed. Okay? Out of that, about 18 make over $100,000 a year, or 40 households bring in over $100,000. So what I'm saying here, and I don't mean to confuse you with all these numbers, is that we're not making a shit ton of money. Okay? We're just not. And it costs a shit ton of money to live. Okay? And so I bring that up because yesterday we talked about housing cost. So let's go with the fact that 75% of us make less than $100,000 a year. The average rent for a 2-bedroom, ChatGPT could tell me that right now. Average rent in USA for a 2-bedroom apartment. The average rent in the United States for a 2-bedroom apartment is about $1,900 a month. That can go up. Again, that's average. That means 50% of the rents are more and 50% are less. So a typical number, an average typical number, in the lowest market around, $1,300 a month. In an average metro area, $2,000 a month. In an expensive city, Los Angeles, Seattle, New York, Dallas, all of that, average is $3,200 a month. San Francisco, $5,500 a month for a 2-bedroom median price. Again, 50% being higher than $5,500 a month, 50% being lower. So, using the median full-time worker salary of $62,009 a year, your gross monthly income is $5,200. A typical 2-bedroom is $1,900. You're already at almost 40% of your income for just rent. And that doesn't include utilities. So when you add in utilities, you're at about 45% of your income for just rent. That's 15% over what it's supposed to be. And I do it on the show all the time, and I call it the math of America. This math is why we are all suffering. Okay? The math of America is not adding up. Because when you look at those numbers, the poverty level in America should be about $70,000 a year. If you're not making $70K, you're not making it. And some of you are going to go, I don't make anywhere near that, Karel, and I make it just fine. Good for you. You're not average. The average person in America can't make it because the math ain't mathing. Okay? Just period. Is that what's driving the kids to be democratic socialists? You bet your buppies it is. We'll talk about how the Democratic Party, including some of my viewers, need to read the room. Yes, girl. Let's talk about it. Let's go.
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karel Cast on your favorite streaming service.
Who is telling you?
You're listening to the Karel Cast. Driving you home or driving you crazy. It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karel Cast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Karel Cast, driving you home or driving you crazy.
Now it's your turn.
All right, Democrats, this is part of your problem. You're in my chat room right now and you're spreading lies. Someone said, well, Democratic Socialist, so you're for no prisons, no military, no borders, government will own most of the corporations? Sounds a bit too radical for me. What Democratic Socialist candidate has come forward and said, let's get rid of our borders, let's empty our prisons and not have them, let's get rid of our military? Name the candidate who has said those things. Show me the links. Post them in the chat room. Show me what Democratic Socialist candidate has said these things. Because we're not talking about pure socialism here, okay? We're talking about a mixture of democratic principles and socialist principles, which we already have. But you're letting the right scare you. You're letting them use the word like a dirty word. If you don't like socialism, don't go drive on our roads. If you don't like socialism, don't collect Medicare, don't collect Social Security, don't collect Medicaid, don't ever use the SNAP program, don't use the post office. If you don't like socialism, write a check to the federal government for all the years you or your children went to public school. Just get out your checkbook and write a check to the government for all the years that you or your children went to public school. Because that, by definition, is socialism. And as you talk about government owning corporations, Donald Trump is buying, on behalf of the U.S. government, stakes in major corporations. He's going to buy 5% of OpenAI, of ChatGPT. The federal government already has. And by the way, for those of you that say you are not for the federal government owning corporations, then why the fuck are you allowing all of the subsidies that go to these corporations and we get nothing back? We give the airlines billions of dollars, and what do we get? High prices, long lines, and bad service. And yet we bailed them out to the tune of billions of dollars. We gave the auto manufacturers in 2009 billions of dollars. They all marched up to the hill and wanted a handout. You must save our industry. And what did they give us? Low gas mileage, gas guzzling vehicles that just made us go to the oil companies as customers. Did they give us affordable electric cars? No. They took billions of our dollars and gave us nothing back. At least if we owned the corporations, we'd get things we needed. So what is your problem with the federal government running key corporations that we need? What is your problem with that? You're afraid Jeff Bezos will go hungry? You're afraid Elon Musk won't have enough money to buy a new rocket? The U.S. government should own a car company that makes a $10,000 a year, a $10,000 electric car, period. The United States government should own a car company that makes and sells $10,000 a year electric cars, period. Hitler owned VW. You love VWs. Hitler owned it. The Reich owned it. Why wouldn't the United States run an energy company to manage all of our oil? So the profits from all of our oil sales would go right back into our services, like infrastructure, better public transportation. Why is it better that the CEOs of Chevron and Enron and all of these make billions of dollars in profits, and we don't see any of that money for oil they pull out of the ground under our fucking feet? Why do we get nothing from that? It's our oil over our country. And yet Chevron makes all the money. Enron makes all the money. But if you suggest that the United States should have, the Saudis own their oil. The Saudi government owns the Saudi oil, and they lease to other countries or other entities like Chevron or Shell or whatever. Read the room. People are tired of corporations making billions and us getting nothing.
If you're not visiting reallykarel.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast, videos, and the blog, including recipes at reallykarel.com. That's really KAREL.com.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know.
So if the co-chair of the DSA, Democratic Socialist of America, made a video stating that she's for no prisons, no borders, then she's a whacked out nut job who is not really a democratic socialist, and she's not a candidate running for anything. Because that is not what any democratic socialist that I have seen has said. Okay? Should the United States run grocery stores? You bet your ass we should. Why shouldn't it be one of the government's responsibilities to feed its people and to make sure food stays affordable? Why is that obtuse to you or anybody that the United States runs grocery stores instead of these private for-profit? Why do we give away all of the things that directly affect our lives to private for-profit entities? How does that make sense? How does it make sense that private corporations are in charge of your health care? How does that make sense? It doesn't work. It certainly doesn't work for you. Young kids are tired of not being able to access health care because of money. They're tired of it. They want socialized medicine. And does it have its problems? You bet it has its problems. Can those problems be solved? You bet they can. Why shouldn't the United States own an oil company and run gas stations? Why is that obscene or obtuse to you? Why is it better that Shell and Arco and Chevron, why is it better that they run the gas companies? If you need gas to power your life, and you do, then why shouldn't the government be involved in providing that? Can you explain that? Why shouldn't the federal government set rents? Answer that. Why shouldn't the federal government work with local municipalities to set rents? Why are rents allowed to be $5,500 in San Francisco? That should be illegal. Period. There should be a cap on how much you can charge for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit. Period. There should be a range. You can start at 0 and go up to $4,000, in the pricey markets. But $5,500, $6,000, $7,000? Why should developers and rich landowners get all of that money and not you and I? Every time someone tells me they're against socialism, I ask, why? Don't you feel you deserve the best? I mean, don't you feel that you're worthy? Why shouldn't the federal government make electricity free? Build solar farms across the country and make sure that every person that needs power has it. Why do private companies run our water? Why are private companies being allowed to buy water rights? Why is that even allowed? Why would a private company be able to buy the water rights in a state? Because they are. We die without water. You want to leave that to a private corporation? No. So yeah, I'm a socialist. The people should own their own water. The people should own the minerals and oil that comes out of the land underneath their feet from their country. And they should benefit in the profits. Government should set housing prices in terms of rentals. Government should set all kinds of things. There should be socialized medicine and healthcare. No insurance companies We don't need an insurance company. We have Medicare. It's an insurance company. Everybody should buy their health insurance through Medicare. And it should be a very small sliding scale. If you're a millionaire, okay, you pay $5 or $10 grand a year for health insurance. If you make under $100,000, it's free. Why is that fair, Karel? Because it is fair. Because those that have can pay, and those that don't can't. And in a socialist society, that still means that everybody has. And this is what the kids want. This is what young voters want. If Democrats don't start reading the room, they're going to lose. And Republicans will win. Is that what we want? I don't want that. I don't think you want that. Read the room. You know, young people don't want Democrats to run from gay rights issues. They want them to stand up. Young voters don't want Democrats to be weaker on social issues. They want them to be stronger. Oh, the older Democrats are saying, no, walk away from the social issues. Let's not champion the gays. Let's leave abortion alone for a while. Those are old Democrats. New, young, democratic socialists, they want to stand up for gay and bi rights and trans rights. They want to stand up for a woman's right to choose. Read the room. Lord have mercy. All right, let me check what's going on here. Current prisons are for profit private businesses. We jail most people for things that are currently legal. Jail is a business. Yes, I agree. And that's a bad idea. A very bad idea. France does all the things you are promoting right now. I've spent a lot of time in France and everything is much better for the middle. Well, of course it is. You know? Abolish borders and prisons. We should abolish prisons. But we should abolish the private prisons. Do you know that a majority of ICE detention centers are privately owned and therefore they have to be stocked with people so the owners get checks from the government. So they don't care who they're go pulling off the fucking street so long as they end up in a detention center. Oh, poor Andrew Tate. Have you heard about poor Andrew Tate? Oh my God, he's got a screaming cannibal next to him and his water faucet doesn't work and brown water comes out and he can't drink the water. And you mean like the conditions you advocated for people in Alligator Alcatraz? You mean like the prisons you advocate for people to be taken by ICE because you've been sucking Donald Trump's dick since he got elected? Andrew Tate, I hope you're in the worst hellhole in the world. But I agree. Federal prisons and state prisons should be nicer facilities, and half the guards should be fired. You know? And a majority of the people in our prisons are in there for things they should not be in there for. Why? Because they're private prisons and we have to keep them full so their owners will get a check. Half the people in prison should not be in prison. For instance, no one should be in prison for a drug crime. Nobody. Unless someone was hurt in the commission of that crime. No one should be in jail for selling drugs, buying drugs, arranging for drugs to be sold. No one should be in prison for that. They should go to rehab, whatever it might be. No drug addict should be in prison. If someone was arrested for a crime, and it's not a crime where someone got hurt, if it was burglary or whatever, and they're a drug addict, they should go to rehab, not to prison. So do I want to close prisons? I do, actually. Something's wrong that in our country we need more prisons than any other country. Something's wrong there. Okay? And what's wrong is we privatize them. Prisons should be run by the state and the federal government. They should not be hellholes. Their job should be rehabilitation, not incarceration. The job of prisons right now is strictly incarceration, period. No rehabilitation at all. Strictly incarceration. That's wrong. The federal government and the state should own the prisons. They should not be hellholes. Half the guards should be fired, and most of the people shouldn't be in them. Period. Period. Do you know how many women are in prison right now because they killed their abusers? They shouldn't be. Karel, they committed murder. It's self-defense. If you are a woman that is being beaten and abused on a daily basis by a man and he wakes up dead one day, well, c'est la guerre. And I mean it. Justifiable homicide. So, yeah, we should do away with prisons. We don't need as many as we've got, and we should really do away with private prisons. We do not need private prisons. So, read the room, Democrats. And I'm speaking to you, my listeners, who are commenting in the chat room, and you're like, no, read the room. It is time to swing to the far left. Because the far left isn't that far left. We have now been dumbed down, Democrats have been. Our expectations have been lowered about what we should expect from government. Bernie Sanders has not been dumbed down. Everything Bernie Sanders says, I agree with. Everything. He's a socialist. Bernie Sanders is a democratic socialist. There's no two ways about it. And everything he says, I agree with. Why are we paying such a fortune for drugs? Why? All drug companies should be run by the government. If the people need drugs, then the drug companies should be run by the government, and there should be no profit margin. They shouldn't be for-profit industries. Drugs, prescription drugs, should not be a for-profit business, period. No one should profit off of someone else's sickness. No one should have to face cancer and not be able to afford a drug that is out there for them, and so they can't take it unless they raise it through GoFundMe or something. No one should have to sell their house to give the money to a drug company to buy a drug for their illness. Nobody. Ever. Anywhere. Drugs should not be for profit. Prison should not be for profit. Healthcare should not be for profit. Do you see where we're going with this? Food should not be for profit. Now, that doesn't mean farmers shouldn't get paid and grocery store employees shouldn't get paid. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the head of Kroger shouldn't be a millionaire. The head of Smith's, the head of Vaughn's, the head of Piggly Wiggly, or the Pig as they call it. Those people should not be millionaires. There shouldn't be enough money in groceries to make anybody a millionaire. If everybody needs food, and they do, then there should be no profit margin in it. All of the cost should be covered, and those costs include paying your employees, and yes, paying some more than others, all of that. But should there be profit? No, because the profit should be reinvested into the product. The profit should be reinvested into the store. The profit should be reinvested to make the place nicer, to make more selection, to pay the farmers more. Not to pay some CEO somewhere. So, am I a socialist? Yeah, I guess I sound like one. And so do young people. So if Democrats want to win, they better get off this democratic socialism is bad. It's what young people want. And they want it for a reason, because they've tried it our way. Okay? I'm 63. My generation is still doing things like the generation before it. We are still, everything in our country is set up the same as it was in the 1920s. And kids are tired of that. They don't want it anymore. They want something new. And they want someone new. And I can't blame them. I do too. This system is not working. It's not working for me. It's certainly not working for you. No one should make $1 trillion while there are other people starving. It just shouldn't happen. Period. No one should be worth $1 billion when the average salary is $62,000. Nobody. No one works that hard. Period. They're a self-made billionaire. No one's a self-made billionaire. Someone tried to tell me Oprah's a self-made billionaire. No, she's not. Tyler Perry has made her a shit ton of money with his movies and acquiring his network. OWN, the OWN network, has made her a shit ton of money. And that's a whole lot of people doing a whole lot of shows. Oprah has not single-handedly made her billions. She has used other people to get the money. She's not self-made. Many people made her money. No one is a self-made billionaire. No one worked 100 hours a week until they finally had $1 billion. Doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. The stock market can make you rich. That's not work. Moving money around. See what I'm saying? Read the room.
Patreon is the way to show you care. Subscribe today if you dare. Keep the show on there. Patreon is the way. Now it's showtime.
Yeah, I agree. We have a revenge system of justice. And it's not justice. It's not justice. Our justice system is woefully broken. There's no justice in our system. There's just not. Villains walk away all the time, while poor people or underrepresented people go to jail for things they should not go to jail for and spend way too much time. I watch a show, I watch all these murder, death, kill shows. I watch this show about wrongly convicted people and how the Innocence Project can go to a judge with clear evidence that this person is innocent, and they still don't get a new trial. Nope. They had a judge, they had a jury, they were found guilty, that's that. The justice system isn't interested in justice. The backlog to test DNA for people in jail is years long. Why? It should all be tested within a month. Because it exonerates black people. That's why. Because it lets young black people out of jail. That's why. Our prison system is racist. Look, one of my friends is a prison guard. And the things he tells me makes me realize our prison system is woefully broken. Just woefully broken. So there's no justice in it. So if I hear a Democratic Socialist say we need to get rid of prisons, as they are now, we do need to get rid of prisons. Some hellhole with, look, I despise Andrew Tate and he should rot in fucking hell. But should he have potable water that's drinkable? Yes. Should his cell have rats in it? No. Should he have access to certain things, books, yes. You can punish someone for a crime, but still treat them with some humanity. We don't. And we don't care. You and I don't care. You hear about a person going to jail, you don't care what their life is going to be like because you think, well, if you don't want to live in those conditions, you shouldn't commit a crime. There are so many people in jail that did not commit crimes. Or the crimes are stupid, like money crimes. No one should be in jail for a money crime at all. None. They should have to pay the money back. They should have to be working. They shouldn't be in jail. You want to go to jail quickly? Embezzle from a rich person. Steal from a rich person. Ask Bernie Madoff. You'll be in jail that fast. Kill a poor person? You might be out in 2 years, 4 years. I saw one of my shows yesterday. This guy killed his wife and his 2 children. He got out of jail in 11 years. Had he robbed money from a town elder, probably go to jail for life. So yeah. Democrats need to read the room if they want to win. And the room is saying it's time for radical change inside the Democratic Party. Democrats can't even embrace Bernie Sanders. Many Democrats cannot even embrace him. I think Bernie Sanders should have been president 20 years ago. What's her name? Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren's a socialist. She may not call herself a socialist, but she's a socialist. People like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, they should be in power. People that say drug companies should not make this kind of profit. People that say healthcare should be free for all. People that say the government should subsidize a $10,000 a year electric or a $10,000 total price electric vehicle. So then everybody could afford one. Bernie Sanders is for rent control. I'm for rent control. You know, landlords, they just rape you. They charge you whatever they want to charge you. Oh, I was going to do this as a topic today. Do you know that now that work from home has been a thing, there are landlords in San Francisco trying to charge people $200 more on their rent if they work from home? I am not making this up. If a landlord finds out you are working from home in San Francisco, certain landlords now want to charge $200 a month more because you're using it as an office. It's your home. I think you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want to up in it. But landlords are saying, no, if you work from home, we want more money. Read the room. Kids don't want that. Democrats don't, socialists don't want that. So that's what I'm saying about read the room. Young people are yearning for more change than we have given them, you know? Yes, Elizabeth Warren is an economist and she's very smart. Very, very smart. Have you heard about the podcast about Ron Owens' daughter, Laura Owens? Oh, don't get me into please don't pull me into the Ron Owens story. I used to envy Ron Owens. He had the best spot on KGO radio. He made the most money of anyone on KGO radio. And I wanted to be Ron Owens. Now that he's retired, he's had to file bankruptcy a few times. His daughter continually scams men about being pregnant and scams them for money and all kinds of things. And is probably going to go to jail for it. And it made me, I've been thinking a lot about that. I have a friend named Oliver. He helped me do some projects back in Long Beach. And at the time, he wasn't really employed that much and, wasn't dating. And now he's had a husband for 15 years. They adopted a child who is now almost a teenager. They're taking vacations. He works for Apple. And I thought, his life turned out better than yours. And I've been saying that a lot about people from my past where, like my friend Ken, who doesn't speak to me because I told him he was an alcoholic and needed an intervention. He's got a husband. He lives in a rent-controlled apartment on Santa Monica Beach, on the beach, on the 13th floor for $1,400 a month for a one-bedroom, rent-controlled now for 30-plus years. The buildings offered them $300,000 to move, and they said no. Because when they move, they can charge $8,000 or $9,000 a month for that unit. And I thought, well, he may be an alcoholic that just works at AT&T Wireless, but he's got a pension. He's got a husband. He has his dog and his life and a beautiful beachfront house. He ended up better than you. And I've been doing that a lot the last week. Well, they ended up better than you're alone in Las Vegas in the heat. You don't have a ton of money. And I realized that I'm gauging my life by the wrong standard. I've had an extraordinary life and just a life full of so many experiences that Ken will never have, that Oliver will never have. Just incredible, once-in-a-lifetime experiences that I have, like, every day. I've touched the lives of a lot of people, so I don't gauge it. But I don't want to be Ron Owens anymore. I am Karel, be who you want to be, so it doesn't hurt you, buddy. Or, a lot of people. Most of them died.
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karel Cast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Karel Cast. Driving you home or driving you crazy. It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karel Cast on your favorite streaming service.
Showtime is here.